Hi, my name is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses with healthyblackwoman.com and successfulblackwoman.com. This is my good friend Shaquita Graham with ateco.teachable.com and lovingtheblackman.com. Today we had a quick conversation about the topic that we're about to discuss, and it was based on a meme that Shaquita is going to put up. First, how are you doing today, Shaquita?
I'm doing great, Noma.
That's good. So you could go ahead and put up the meme so we can see.
Now, our sister Sharzad Ali is pictured here, and the meme says, all we have to do is get pregnant. The white man will give us a place to live, health insurance, food stamps, pharmacy coverage, daycare, and everything else. Those things keep us from wanting to be with a man because we say he ain't got nothing. Well, we wouldn't have nothing either if they, which I am assuming the meme is meaning the white man or the oppressor, wasn't trying to use us as Black women against him, the Black man. So that is the quote, Miss Noma. What do you think?
You know, one of the things that I've often said is I have a serious problem with feminism, as I've seen it spoken about, demonstrated, and this is one of the reasons why. Because it was initially about you know, equal rights or whatever, but it also had a lot to do with making sure that Black women joined the movement so that they could also have whatever they were struggling with addressed. And this I feel is one of the results. You know, it creates this feeling or this mindset of I don't need a man, I don't want a man, and I don't need a man. And this is supported by systems that are put into place. You know, just like she says, if you fall pregnant, the government is going to give you a place to live, health insurance, food stamps, and daycare. That basically means it's going to provide for your needs, your basic needs. Under normal circumstances, when a man and a woman come together, they complement each other and they move forward together. But if you have the government giving you everything that you need, what do you need a partner for?
So it's kind of odd to me, but I've started to really understand this mindset a little bit because I've always had a mindset of self-sufficiency, and I took for granted that many people did. And I mean, many people do, but I mean that I didn't think there were so many people that would want to get food stamps or somebody paying their rent. I mean, you can't pay my rent for where I want to live. You can't, you know, some of these free things, but I realized that white supremacy is mentally challenging. And to be a person that's very motivated and goal-oriented, it takes a lot of mental strength, even on your best day. Even without white supremacy, you have to be a very tough-minded individual. And unfortunately, I think because of the intense social engineering, a lot of the obstacles that have been placed in our families through the media and different things like that, a lot of us as Black women and even Black men, we don't have the appropriate estimation of our value and our capabilities, or we would shun every single thing that comes from our oppressor. We would never believe that there is any gift that our oppressor would be giving us. And we will also recognize that we need every form of protection against our oppressor that is possible. And the Black man is the best form of protection that you have as a Black woman and as a Black child against white supremacy. So, you know, those are some of my initial thoughts about that.
Yeah, you know, I remember when I was in college, and a couple of blocks from where I lived, there was this apartment building, and at the time, I didn't even know what people meant when they said Section 8. I honestly just didn't. But anyway, how I got to learn about it was that there was this man who then had a conversation with me because I asked him. And he said, well, you know, I had a baby with this woman, and she is getting government assistance for where she lives and all this other government assistance. But there can be, when they come to her home, there can be no sign that I've ever been there. And he was talking about when he was in a relationship with her, and he said she almost got disqualified from the assistance because he forgot his shoes there. And I guess the social worker came and saw his shoes. So they make it a condition that if we're going to help you, there can be they put rules in place to say, you cannot have a man in your home, and if you do, we won't help you. I mean, imagine, that's powerful. And right. This was a man who was actually the father of her child. So they're saying this man cannot be a father to this child, a partner to you. And if he is, and we see any symptom of him being here, his presence, then you're not getting the place to live. You're not getting the insurance and all these things that she was getting. Now, obviously, there's other things playing out here, but to me, that never left. I'm talking about something that happened about 20 years ago, and I never forgot it. So it's a condition of getting help because you're in a bad situation. You know, you're experiencing poverty, whether it's temporarily or it's generation, whatever it is. A condition of getting help is that there can be no man in your life. And for some people, this is something that happens, you know, that has been happening since their grandma and their mom and their great grandma and so on. So they literally have understood that you can't have a man. They've internalized that. You can't have a man here, otherwise you won't be able to survive. And that is the exact opposite of what I believe.
Right. And the thing is that we have to be more careful and less trusting of our oppressor. We have to be careful not to play into these plots, because it's sad that, you know, many circumstances we find ourselves in, we feel we are very vulnerable to the idea, well, hey, I can go out here. I mean, because, you know, your kids being hungry, I don't want anybody to ever have that feeling of
right.
not being able to feed their children. So, I mean, I understand, you know, the idea that a nation should provide for people temporarily and help people get on their feet. But what has happened is we play into a plot of believing that we can't make it, or we get in this complacent situation, and then we start tuning into all of the other poisons, like the wrong foods, like the media propaganda and the narratives about Black men or Black women, the ideas that, oh, we don't need to have a man in the household. And right now, we have to be more protective than ever. We need to be thinking offensively and defensively right now, and we need every weapon possible. We need the Black man in our home. We need to be his support system. We need to protect his image. We need to protect our image, because we are literally, I mean, we pay taxes, and we can't use medical facilities because we're being targeted with vaccines and different things like that. We can't use the education system because we're being lied to and brainwashed, and also targeted, our children being targeted in the schools. We can't
in the preschool to prison pipeline.
Right. We can't eat in our communities because our communities are being fed, first of all, unclean water, and the food that's coming in is genetically modified. I mean, if you think that this is a time to be against anybody with melanated skin, you are sadly mistaken. And you know, the consequences may be dire.
You know, that's an interesting point that you make, because I was having this conversation with a family member, and one of the things that we said, which was, again, it stuck with me and will stick with me for a very, very long time, is you have to understand the things that you're dealing with. One of the things that I've resolved since having this conversation is I understand what's out there and what's going on. But as for me, I will not be used to destroy a Black man. I will not be used to destroy the Black family, and I will not be used to destroy the Black community, Black people, in any shape or form. Whether it's coming from my mouth, whether it's my mindset about Black people, anything and everything, I will not be used. And I think that if we took on this mindset, you might see some changes. Just understand when you're in a position to say something, to do something, just understand, are you helping this process, this social engineering? Are you helping this process, or are you coming against it? And when you start to function in that mindset of, I will not be used in any shape or form, I will not be used, and you solidify that in your mind, you can start to become a change agent. So whether it's even just a little thing like, and I'm not by any, stretch of the imagination pointing fingers at people who put their kids in schools. That's another conversation for another day. But for me, I felt like I was being used. When I agree with that system and put my kids in that system, I felt like I was acquiescing to that system, agreeing with that system, that prison, that preschool to pipeline prison. Prison to pipeline thing. I was not going to participate in that. Anytime that I need to resolve something in my marriage, I have a vested interest in making that thing work. Why? Again, I will not be used to be another statistic, to be, the decimation of the Black community, the Black family. I will not in any shape or form be used by a system that I know is designed to destroy me. That's a no. That's my stance, and that's my mindset.
Exactly. And the thing is that it takes strength to take that position, right? Because again, in order to solve a problem, you have to see it for what it is, okay? You have to look at all of the institutions. You have to look at the torture. You have to look at the terrorism, and you have to admit where we are in that scenario. And that can be mentally devastating for Black men, Black women, young children, teenagers, whatever. And they might default to drinking, partying to get this off of their mind. But what we have to do is take a position of mental strength and understand that we must fight every way that we can against these things. And we have to understand that in our fight is victory, because white supremacy needs our permission to continue to exist the way that it is existing. And we have to, and like you said, well, okay, I'm not trying to point the finger at somebody who feels like they can't, but in a way I am, because I don't want you to feel like you can't, because that's a lie. And I don't want to perpetuate that lie to you. If you recognize, which I did, that my children, I'm taking them to a place where they can be harmed physically, and they're definitely being harmed mentally. Mm-hmm. If it was that far in your face and you knew that, you wouldn't take your child. If the oppressor said you can't bring your child back here, you would find something else to do. So this is the mental toughness that we have to take on. When the corporation says you have to leave, you get your stuff and you leave. Well, why don't you make that decision? You know what I'm saying? If they say school is out today, you take care of your kids, and I realized that I was afraid to take my kids out of school because I felt like I wasn't going to have that babysitter. I'm like, what am I doing? Even times when I thought about putting my son back in school, I'm like, they're not going to have me in jail, because the first time a resource officer grabs my kid and I don't know, I can't be responsible for what might happen. So to protect my family, I have to keep my kids out of school.
Absolutely. Again, just to reiterate what we've already said, it's really about, at this point, I think it applies to both men and women, but we're talking about women right now. You said it best when you said it requires a mental toughness and a resolve, and an ability to see the long range of what the results of your decisions are. A question that I always ask myself in most decisions that I make, every decision that I make that is really important, is I have to ask myself, what is the end of this? What is the end of this? And I think that's an important question to ask yourself. If you put your kid in the school, and it may be because, really a lot of people use the school as a babysitter. They really do. I have to work. I have to put them in there. What would I do if I was trying to homeschool? I wouldn't be able to go to work. But ask yourself, what is the end of it? Because you're solving a problem that seems like it's right now, but down the line, what is the end of it? And you have to ask yourself that. So I will end there. Again, you know, Shaquita and I are both homeschooling moms, so this is a topic that we somehow always bring into the conversation because it's an important conversation to have. But I just want to say thank you to Shaquita for joining me on this segment. I want to remind you guys to go to marriedwomensbusiness.com. We'll be launching soon if you want to be in on that. Again, it's a space for women who want to celebrate marriage, parenting in the Black community, and above all, building multiple streams of income. So again, thank you, Shaquita. This is Shaquita with atechco.teachable.com and lovingtheblackman.com. And I'm Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses with healthyblackwoman.com and successfulblackwoman.com. Thank you, Shaquita, and thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.